rape. You know, if you take in the context of rapes that occurred between black women and white men, where white men basically raped and stole black women's bodies for their sick sadistic pleasure, not sexual pleasure, but sick sadistic pleasure, because, you know, when they first went to Africa looking at their more puritanical Christian morals, they thought and deduced that because the people, I hate when people call me God. But anyways, when they were in Africa, you know, going back to Africa, when they first went over there, they mistook the native people's clothing to mean that they were sexually loose and uninhibited. When simply the fact is that blacks didn't need clothing in that climate, or, you know, not as much. We were scantily clad because the sun was so enormous and hot, whereas with white Europeans had to develop those clothes that they wear, you know, a whole lot of clothes, an abundance of clothes, because the climates in which they lived in were harsher and more climatically colder, which is why they had to don you know, heavy deer gear and you know, wolfskin clothing that they had to don. Same thing with the, you know, with other peoples who lived in colder climates. But anyways, you know, the history and you know, of rape of rape of black women by white men, you know, it is something that lives in the cells of a lot of white men to this day. And this is why, you know, contrary to a lot of you know, what the internet drama goes on, you know, saying that, oh yeah, black women want white men. The fact is that most black women do not want white men, because at the end of the day, not only was it the slavery issue that, you know, caused a lot of black women to be averse to white boys, but the fact is that, you know, this reminds me of what I was told when I was growing up. I remember, you know, I spoke to my mom. My mom's a light-skinned black woman, and she said she would never mess with a white boy too. And my aunt also corroborated this too by saying that to them and to a lot of black women, because light skin is seen as very effeminate in our society. White men are, you know, the lightest skinned men on the face of this planet, so they're seen as very feminine. And on top of that, they have what we categorize in our culture, as well as in many other cultures, as being, you know, pretty eyes, technically speaking, and having pretty, so-called pretty straight hair, you know, like a bitch, like a woman. You know, I used that to try to, you know, emasculate some motherfuckers one time who were, you know, fucking with me outside of this bar establishment. It really worked too. They were just like, because they know deep down inside that they're bitches. Because, you know, the minute they hit the penitentiary, for instance, who's the first one to end up as a prison bitch? A white boy. So anyways, not to alliterate too much on that, going back into what I was saying, the fact is that today in contemporary society, because white people can no longer say outright, you know, the N-word, they can no longer say nigga, 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 because it's no longer fashionable to do so, because they face all sorts of legal implications and liabilities for doing so. They've become a lot more underground. And after the civil rights movement ended, you know, when you've been in a position of power for many fucking millennia, as was the case with them, you don't want to abdicate that. You don't want to give that up. It's kind of like, you know, for instance, when I was growing up, I dominated my little brother. And so my mother would step in and she'd be like, you know, hey, you ain't supposed to be, you know, abusing your brother. I used to tell him, oh, I could come into your room, but he couldn't come into mine. Or, you know, if I was playing a video game, he had to shut up, whereas, you know, I made all the noise in the world when he was playing a video game, you know, shit like that. And, you know, over time I gave him certain concessions, but I still didn't recognize him as my equal. And I think that that's something that permeates the minds of a lot of white folks as well, you know. It wasn't that long ago that we were slaves. We were their slaves, and they are still coming to terms with the fact that we are not only equal to them, but human beings as well, who are deserving of respect, of being treated as equal human beings, just like they accord themselves. And so on top of that, to make things even more interesting, they have a lot of power that comes with their privilege. And, you know, if you look up Frances Cress Welsing, you know, she talks a lot about the ISIS papers and about, you know, how white supremacy is linked to their quote-unquote need for survival, which I think is very, very true. Their need for reproductive survival, since they are, in fact, the smallest group of, race on this planet in terms of numbers, and they are easily the most outpigmented in terms of melanin and melanocytes, you know, and skin color. They can easily be eradicated, you know, just get a white crayon and you get a black crayon and color each over, you know, and, you know, not to mention the fact that black people are the root race and that white people directly came from us. We got the Nigerian couple, pure black African, from the Igbo tribe, which were the only ones to accept their albinos, not the other tribes, but they were the only ones to accept the albinos, and looked at the fact that they sired not only just a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white child, but a child with straight hair as well. You came from us. We made you. You know, you're a prototype of black people. You know, of Ethiopians, of Dravidians, and all those people come from us as well. You know, y'all are a genetic mutation. Please don't ever forget that. Now, with that said and with that out the way, that's why they don't want to lose their power, because they realize at the end of the day, the minute they start to give up even a little bit of their power, that's the end, the reproductive, you know, end of their race, of their type. And by the way, white folks created race, by the way, so don't accuse me of racism, because y'all are the ones who started it, and y'all are the ones who have a lot of power and still do a lot of devastating things to Africa and other places to this day. So to get back on topic, in order for them to cement their power, you know, of course they start to recognize our rights, because it's the legal thing to do, not because it's the right thing to do, but it's the legal thing to do. And they scoff at being accused of racist, being accused of being a racist, not because they're not racist, but because they just don't want you acknowledging that and finding that out, because they still see you as inferior, and they think that you're supposed to be stupid enough not to know and not to be aware of that. And see, the fact is that at the end of the day, they don't want to give up that privilege. You know, they don't want to share that equally. They don't mind giving us a few crumbs at the table and say, yeah, I recognize your human rights, but they're not going to fully give up their other, you know, the other assets that comes along with being white. You know, the other perks that comes along with being white. You know, they don't want to give up, oh, yes, you know, I'm white, and, you know, I don't have to worry about the cops pulling up by me. And as a matter of fact, you know, I'm going to go ahead and end this by saying that, you know, for all the whites out there who like to complain about racism, bitch, until cops start pulling up on you and arresting you for no reason, or as was the case with me in the Coronado PD, taking up a white perpetrator's side over a black victim, i.e. me, until you start getting shot by the cops, and the only thing that ends in the conviction of that cop is, you know, a manslaughter charge. You know, until people are following you around in department stores, until people are, you know, wolf whistling and treating you like you're an animal because you know, you happen to be a female of a darker color, i.e. a black woman. You know, until, you know, people stop, you know, start treating you and your women as if they have total sexual access to you. You know, don't say that you're that people, you know, especially people of color, are racist towards you, because at the end of the day, racism is about power. It's about an institution. We don't have power. White folks do, but I think that thankfully, before the year 2050 comes, that all that's going to change, and, you know, whites are going to be reabsorbed back into the population. We're going to be able to regain the planet for people of color and ultimately stop racism. So all of y'all out there, y'all have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye.